All right, so what I'm going to show you here, Hakeem, is how to transition panels and also um, not necessarily laying them out, but they kind of go hand in hand. So there's actually, it's not as difficult once you get the handle on it, but at first it seems very difficult. So I usually work in, always the goal is to keep your work simple, never to overcomplicate it or make it too complex because you want everyone to be able to read your work. So if you see, there's a thing called Z paneling, and what that is you carry the weight of your panel like a Z. Okay, so and I apply that concept in threes, not necessarily three panels, but more of three objects in a space. So in the case of the first panel, 1, 2, and I'm actually using the light source in the environment as my third one to compose my panel, okay? And what that creates is this triangle, okay? So, and the way I have the character looking, she's looking over to the next panel, right? So it's from behind the back. She looks over to the next panel because she's looking off in the distance up here at the sun. In this panel, there she is. She's looking forward now, so I moved the camera. I turned it facing her, and the sun is now in front of her, even though it's shining from above, right? So we know she's going towards the sun or towards something. And in the last, and she's down in this bottom corner here, okay? So I carry the weight of the panel in that corner, but once again, my triangle is still there because I have this light source coming down, and it creates this triangle in the middle of the panel. Okay, let me back up real quick. So 1, 2, and here's my third one. Here's Rita looking off in the distance and the sun right there, right? But what happens here is that the tree trunk comes from that side. So what I'm doing is leading the reader to the next page. So compose in 3 and create a triangle for your page. So the best way to study this is actually with paintings. So here's one of the best to do it. Francisco Goya. Once again, it's just a single painting and we're working in threes, right? 1, 2, you have 3 subjects, okay? So, but how does the composition work? So he has them in a cluster. Interesting, right? But that allows his negative space to be available, right? It's all around. And we have this wall shooting over, okay? So what he's doing is cropping, even though it's creating atmosphere and objects in a space. So, and then actually, this one's pretty interesting because your triangle is actually there because of the weight of this character. So, but then you can also, and you can play with it too, right? So it can actually go like this also. It's a little messy. Let me show you again. You can go like that, right? So it's being consistent. The best way, like I said, the best way to study this is through painting. Pull up this next one. And even if it's not objects of 3, it still pertains to the same law because that is considered a cluster. So that's 1, 2, 3, right? Everything is composed that way because that's how your eye naturally reads. So this allows this negative space to exist and it doesn't look like it's empty, you know? So actually, let me pull up a piece of your artwork and I will show you. Let's see. Okay. So with this one right here, where he's hooked up to the machine and the robot's coming to get him. So your light source is here, shining down the character, and this arm would be in the shadows, right? So that works very well, your ground. So what you can do is now finish this by putting, let's say, a window there. Okay? So then you have your 3, and it creates your triangle. Let's switch the color. Okay. 1, 2, and 3 is your window right here. Okay? You can also, let's go ahead and erase this. Oops. Oh, that's weird. I'll just close it out. Put it back up. So another thing you can do is creating an object in this space. So it could be something in the foreground, such as a chair, right? Or another part of the machine. Okay, so that's how that works. So let's look at a few more examples. So here's Guy Peeler. He does a comic called Pravda and Jodelle, one of my favorites. French 60s comic. He's known for doing album art. So he did David Bowie's Diamond Dogs. Anyway, we can have, the interesting thing about his work is that if we look at these panels, so look at the line, look at the weight of the action. It's going this way, okay? Any good comic book creator does this process. So it goes this way, but at the same time, look at this yellow background here, okay? So it's having, you know, the reader is, it shows weight of this way, but it also shows weight going this way. So it's like this, like that, right? So now if we look at this panel, this next set of panels, we have this smoke going through the same color that is going in this direction, okay? That is that's what you want to create. Momentum that goes from left to right. And then the weight of this last panel here, everything is going on right here. And look at her angle. Her body's angled that way. Okay? And then once again, the action goes this way, even with that panel, right? That blue background. And then the full blue background there. He reinforced the same thing here. That smoke, then the flat background there, reinforced by the same color. Okay? So, and then look how the body is contoured, and even the word bubble. It's at the end of the page. Okay? Same thing. The momentum's going this way. And then we have the words here and the opening of the sky there, forcing the reader to go here. You could just look how brilliant this is. From here, you have, look how that connects, right? That's just simply beautiful. You automatically go to here. And another thing that helps with that is scaling. The object's big in the foreground, and then he goes like that, right? He creates that momentum going that way, along with the arching. Then he reinforces it down here with the weight of the characters, okay? Drops down This blue and white gives that momentum of here, reinforced by that, and it reads from left to right. And now you don't have to necessarily do this right here where we have the word bubble at the very end pushing the reader to next. You can leave it as a negative space with the pink back there, and then the words are still floating and she's looking this way, making the reader want to go to the next page. Okay, so this is like, even though it's complex, it's very stunning in the way that he did it. So, and another thing you want to keep in mind is just those word bubbles, right? Typically they're going to go at the top, somewhere near the top, just for consistency. Also take into account the sound effects, that can be a character. So let's look at this. So going back to the cluster of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it doesn't have to be represented always by 3 subjects in the space. It can be represented by the atmosphere too. 1, 2. The background makes 3. Okay. Now I found this great Peel Art ad, and this actually does the same thing, right? Look at the way that the contour is and the way she's facing, the direction, right? Boom, boom, boom. Let me change this color because it's bleeding into the page. Okay, that's better. So 1, 2, 3. That Z paneling, okay? So the fact that the weight, the door, 2, 3. I would say this is pretty challenging as a composition, but the pattern reinforces the negative space, which is the orange down here, which brings you into this panel. So he's using the same color here at the bottom to indicate the starting point here. So it's all about composing, and that's how you create a composition. So look at the weight. Empty up here, your cluster down there. Cluster down here, pattern up here. This would be considered empty compared to the pattern and information down here. Here she turns, and since it's the last panel, it kind of just resolves itself. 1, 2, and then 3, the mouth in the background. So, but this one's probably the easiest when it comes to the triangulation on how to read it, along with this. Actually, all 3 of them, right? So, and this one is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. He does it for you. I don't even have to explain it to you. You see it. So the way you want to compose these panels is always in clusters of 3 and carry your line weight, not your line weight, sorry, your weight of the flow from left to right. Drop it down, do it again. So if you have something complex like this, it can still read the same way, right? You could do that, but that still communicates the same idea, the Z paneling. 1, because it creates that natural flow. And this is great because it's 1 panel, 2 panel, and the set of 3. Keep your panels very simple. The greats never do more than like 6 panels. When you start doing more than 6 panels, things get too busy, too much information. The reader typically will get turned off by that. Manga is awesome by doing that, keeping the panels big and simple. Even though they'll create a lot of action or detail in it, it's still very simple. So this is the first video. I'll make another video addressing a few of your other questions. So hopefully this one helps, and I'll see you soon.